So I was editing the video and I'm out looking for dinner, and guess what I see? Tuhu. They are open 24 hours, man. Technicians here having dinner, continue work after that. Compete with that, my friend. Some of you message me on TikTok, ask me about my opinion on Tuhu coming to Malaysia. Tuhu is a big car service chain in China with more than 7,000 outlets right here in China. And a lot of people are of the opinion that the arrival of Tuhu will spell disaster for local small businesses, small workshop lah. Will there be an effect to local businesses? Of course there will be lah, no question about that. And I was just taking a walk along the Pearl River and a thought crossed my mind. Let me show you, come with me. You see this? This is the Pearl River, actually one of the tributary of the Pearl River. The main Pearl River is a couple of kilometers that side. This is one of the tributary which will rejoin the main river after the Canton Tower. This Pearl River Delta was not Chinese homeland. The Chinese homeland was 2,000 kilometers that way, much colder, much drier, 2 rivers away in fact. This place didn't become Chinese until 2,200 years ago when Qin Shi Huang built the Lingqu Canal, some 500 kilometers upstream. And with that canal built, Qin Shi Huang sends 500,000 Qin soldiers and stationed them in a fort which he built in somewhere here, in Panyu, south of here, not too far, 20 kilometers south of here. And when the Qin soldiers arrived, they brought in their culture, they brought in their technology, and they completely transformed the Pearl River Delta. This river delta is one of the first places where rice was first cultivated 9,000 years ago. Of course, not by people which we call Chinese today. So what happened to the original inhabitants of these lands? Well, some of them get incorporated into the Chinese populace, but many of them left for greener pasture because they got outcompeted. Some of the original inhabitants around the coast, about 100 kilometers from here, near the coast of Guangdong and Fujian, these people put up their sails and they sail into Southeast Asia looking for greener pasture. We call these people Austronesians. They speak Austronesian language, they practice Austronesian culture, they have Austronesian sailing techniques and technology. And these people set sail from the coast of Guangdong and the coast of Fujian onto Taiwan, onto Philippines, onto Borneo, down into Indonesia, Malaysia, and so on. These people found a paradise because they come from a much more competitive place. They were living beside the Chinese and they were outcompeted by the Chinese, but by living in such competitive place, they themselves were forced to be competitive. Even though these Austronesians were outcompeted, they were still highly competitive people with very specialized technology and culture. When they reached Southeast Asia, nobody could compete with them. They quickly dominated the entire region. Now, the modern Malay carry somewhere between 30 to 40% Austronesian genetic stock. Javanese even less, 20 to 30% only. So the Austronesian reach Southeast Asia and it is already inhabited. They are not the majority. In fact, they are the minority, but they dominated the region in culture and also in language. Almost without exception, the entire maritime Southeast Asia speak Austronesian languages. And again, we see the same thing 100 to 200 years ago when China is in trouble. And due to poverty, the British imported large amount of Chinese labor from the same region that the Austronesians came from, which is Guangdong and Fujian mostly, into Southeast Asia, into Malaysia. And the Chinese quickly set up communities and dominated the business. Why were the Austronesians able to dominate Southeast Asia 4,000 to 5,000 years ago? Why then did the Chinese that came 100 and 100 plus years ago repeated the same pattern? They were able to dominate economically even though they have very small numbers. The only answer is this, that the heart of East Asia is here in this mainland. This is the most populous place. This is the place where everything that can happen happens in East Asia. And this creates an extremely competitive environment. And those who swim with sharks, even if they lose, are better than those who swim with goldfish. And when those who swim with sharks find themselves in a pond full of goldfish. It's easy picking, man. So the lesson here is this. Tuhu is one of many. You have Chinese car, you have Chinese F&B brands. They're gonna come in and they're gonna wipe the floor with us because they were born, they were molded in the most cutthroat, the most competitive place in at least East Asia, if not the world. We cannot stop the ebb and flow of the politics of the world. We can try to protect ourselves, but the more you turn your place into a goldfish pond, the more goldfish you become. And one day you can't even swim to save yourself. So what we need to do is to learn from them. Identify what makes them competitive. They learn this lesson through life and death competition. We can copy and learn from them what makes them strong. So there you go, 5,000-year history condensed into one lesson for us to learn today. If there's any reason to learn history, this would be it. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes.